Hey everybody, it is almost the start of physics, but before we get to physics, we have to talk about how units are changed in the metric system because when you're driving your car is in kilometers per hour. But not everything in physics is measured in kilometers, and definitely not everything is measured in hours. Also, you have to be careful because kilometer is a unit of distance, and hour is a unit of time. You don't want to get those two things backwards. Like, for example, somebody might say, Mr. Zed, how long did you binge watch The Tiger King for last night? And if your answer is 17 kilometers, well, that's the wrong scale for that question. Also, if you watch The Tiger King for 17 kilometers, you might be a good candidate to be on The Tiger King. All right, let's take a look. So highway driving uses kilometers per hour, right, or miles per hour. We're not going to deal with empirical units. We're going to deal with the metric system. So just a quick review. All right. You may want to take some notes on this on a piece of paper somewhere because it's going to come in handy, especially these 2 pages as you convert units in real problems tomorrow. This is just a practice of converting units today. 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters, right? So conversely, 1 meter is equal to 0.001 kilometer. A kilometer is a big unit. A meter compared to a kilometer is very small. Okay. So if you had 1,000 meters, that's equal to 1 kilometer. So they're units of thousands. This little K is a unit of scale, 1,000 times bigger. Okay, how many hours are there in a minute? Have you ever thought about that? Well, if you're in my Science 20 class, the amount of hours that are in a minute is 10 billion because it goes so slow. Actually, no, it's 60 minutes. There's 60 minutes in 1 hour. So how many seconds are there in an hour? Well, in 1 minute, there's 60 seconds. So if 60 and 60 are times together, you have 3,600 seconds. That's a big deal, okay? So converting in simple terms with using ones is kind of easy. Most of this should be recap for you. But the problem is that physics gets a little trickier because we're going to be doing some other things, okay? So take a look at this page. I'm going to hide the top here. So we'll work at this kind of slow. All right, first question. How many meters are there in 14 kilometers? Okay, well, if we go back to the previous page, what does the previous page say? There's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So if we go 14 kilometers and we times that by the ratio with the kilometers on the bottom, what's going to happen in physics is a kilometer times a meter divided by a kilometer cancels the kilometer out. So 14 times 1,000 is 14,000. That's a huge number. Now we're going to come to the other side in a second. We're not going to talk about that side just yet. Okay. 90 meters is how many kilometers? Well, let's try that same scale again. 900 meters. 900 meters, and we're going to times it by the ratio, but we're going to make sure the ratio has, now this time, meters on the bottom, because we want to get rid of meters. 900 times 1 divided by 1,000, meters cancel out. A meter times a kilometer divided by a meter cancels out. We get 0.9 kilometers. 1.33 hours is how many seconds? Well, let's use that ratio system. 1.33 hours times by, okay, we're going to put an hour on the bottom. How many seconds are in an hour? 3,600 seconds. Hours cancel. So 1.33, I can't do this in my head. 1.33 times 3,600, that's a lot of seconds. I get 4,788 seconds. So do you see the pattern that we're doing? The thing that you want to get rid of, hours, goes on the bottom of the fraction. The thing that you want to turn it into goes on the top. It's always the opposite when you're using those fractions. Okay. Now that's the first bit. This is actually hopefully making sense to most of you. Now, what really happens in physics is we have to convert types of fractions to other fractions. So here's where things get a little dicey. We've got 50 kilometers per hour, and eventually we got to turn that to meters per second. So meters per second is usually what physics people use when something's moving very, very, very quickly, right? Kilometers an hour. A kilometer is a long ways, an hour is a lot of time, whereas a meter is a short distance and a second is a very small unit of time. So this is we're going to be converting things to meters per second if they're moving quickly. How do you do that when you're kilometers per hour? Okay, well, we're going to use that same bracket system. All right, let's get rid of the kilometers by putting them on the bottom. And we're going to turn them into meters. So there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. You see how I just did the exact same thing as over here? The kilometers are going to cancel. But now I have to get rid of hours. So let's put hours on top and seconds on the bottom. Look at this right down there, right? So this is like, we haven't done one of these yet, but it's similar. So we got to get rid of hours. So we put hours on top. There are 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. So what does this mean? Well, we go 50 times 1,000, and then we're going to hit equal, divided by 3,600. So 50 times 1,000. Now that's the whole top bit. So on your calculator, after you do the whole top bit, I want everybody to hit equal, okay, or calculate. You should have 5,000 on your calculator. Then divide that by 3,600, and we get around 1.39 meters per second. Okay, all right, let's try this next one. So we've got 14.5 meters per second, 14.5 meters per second, and we want to convert it to kilometers per hour. Okay, let's use the bracket system. We want to get rid of meters, right? If meters is here, we're going to get rid of it by putting it on the bottom. And we want to convert into kilometers. Well, how many meters are there in a kilometer? 1,000. Don't tell me that there's 1,000 kilometers in a meter. That'll make me crazy. Because that's like saying a meter stick is the same distance as from here to the U.S. border. Okay. Meters will cancel. Okay, we got to get rid of seconds. See the seconds there, right? We got to get rid of them. Where does the seconds go? On the top or the bottom of a fraction? Top. What do we want on the bottom of the fraction? Hours. 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. Okay, so we're going to multiply everything on the top and press calculate. 14.5 times 3,600, and that's going to give us a big number, and then we're going to divide that by 1,000. And I get 52.2 kilometers per hour. Okay, last one. 120 kilometers an hour to meters per second. Look, it's the same setup as this problem we just did. Okay, so I'm going to do some pauses here and ask you guys at home about it. Okay, 50 kilometers per hour. Oops. You don't need to put brackets around it. Start over again. We got 50. No, sorry, that's 120. 120 kilometers per hour. All right, so people at home, if we want to get rid of kilometers, where does it go on the next fraction? Top or bottom? If you said bottom, you were right. What goes on the top? If you said meters, you were right. How many meters are there in a kilometer? If you said 1,000, you are correct. 1,000. So kilometers cancel. Okay, we got to get rid of hours. Where does hours go? Top or bottom? If you said top, you were right. How many seconds are there in an hour? 3,600. Okay. So we're going to multiply everything out on the top. Okay, that's 120 times 1,000. What do we do after we do all the stuff on the top? We press calculate. Okay, I got like 120,000. Now we have to divide that by the bottom. Gives us a much easier number. I get 33.3. Okay, so the assignment you're going to do is practice questions just like this. Because a lot of times in the physics in Science 20, we have to do a couple conversions. It's not going to get anything more crazy than this, but you have to know how to do it. And that is metric conversions lesson number 1.